We live in a world full of constant distractions. It can feel really overwhelming. It can also be very easy to mindlessly scroll and not take any action. It is so easy these days to lose focus and forget how to be disciplined. That's why having a system can help bring your focus back to the important things in life, which is what we'll be doing today. As we are about to start the new year, I think it's time we check in with our goals. 6 months ago, I made a video titled something like "Give it your absolute all for the next 6 months" or for the other half of the year. I had a free Notion template for you guys, and I was talking about how I was going to transform my life in those 6 months, the actions I was taking, and sharing a template that would help me do so. And I wanted to share an update with you all on how that's been going. Also wanted to share an updated version of that Notion template as I made a few tweaks here and there as I've been using it and just tweaking it to the way I prefer to use it and making the most of it. So let's get into this 6-month challenge, 6-month template for upgrading your life. So my first chapter for the last video on this template was getting back into solid routines and time blocking. Now I feel like this has been the most transformative part of that template and of the way I've set up my life since then. As I mentioned in my previous video, there's a reason why successful people always talk about their morning routines and routines in general and how it helps them build success. And that's because routines build discipline. By, setting a certain time that you wake up, setting certain things that you do throughout the day, and showing up for yourself and actually doing those things, you're being disciplined and you're also showing yourself that you care about these things and that you're showing up for yourself every single day. And I'm happy to inform you guys that I've been pretty consistent with these routines. I have made a few tweaks and everything. I think in my first video I talked about waking up at 5:30 a.m. It's more like 6:30 a.m. in the winter. It's really dark in the morning, so I've been using my sunrise little alarm clock. That's helped a lot. I mentioned that in one of my previous videos, and yeah, it's been good. I updated in this section my morning and night routines to kind of reflect that change in the year. So I'll have the new sections that I've added for you guys in this updated template, which I'll share at the end of the video. But I've been really intentional with the way I set up my morning and night routines for winter and just really making that change. And as always, I recommend picking a routine structure that you can follow consistently, that you will show up for yourself in, and it's not too difficult to start, so that you build confidence in showing up for yourself in those ways and being disciplined. And I still really want to highlight the 20-20-20 rule, which is something I mentioned in my last video, where it's really important in the morning to get 20 minutes of movement, 20 minutes of reflection, and 20 minutes of growth. And it could be longer than 20 minutes, but to really make sure that you're at least getting those 20 minutes in. 20 minutes of movement has made a massive change in my life. I'm just making sure to squeeze that in every single day. It doesn't have to necessarily be in the morning, but I find it being in the morning really makes a difference. 20 minutes of reflection, that could be journaling, that could be prayer, meditation, whatever works for you. And then the 20 minutes of learning, that's, reading, learning a new topic, even listening to an educational podcast. Just making sure that you make time for those things when you first start your day. As I mentioned, getting movement in has been a really big improvement in my life, or it's made a massive improvement in my life. I think since the last video, I've lost over 5 pounds. Not that losing weight was my main focus, but I've completed the 75 hard since then. Well, completed. If you guys watch my video on it, which I'll link here, you'll know that I made it to day 69 instead of day 75, but I'm happy with, that result because I intentionally chose to end it. Again, I'll link the video. If anyone's wondering what the 75 hard is, it's a fitness and discipline challenge that I wanted to complete. So I did remove I had a little tracker for it in my template, which I found glitched out a little bit and sometimes would reset. So I removed that, but I kept the 75 hard section in case I ever want to revisit that challenge and do it again. But since the 75 hard challenge ended, I've still managed to be consistent in working out most days. They're not the 45-minute workouts that I was doing prior, but at least 30 minutes long each day. And we'll get into that in a little bit in my health section, but I've made a really good routine for staying consistent with that as well. So routines, they definitely help in all aspects of life. So my second chapter was goal setting. I talked a little bit about quarterly goals in my last video, and the goal setting section is one that I want to revisit now. It has been neglected quite a bit, I'll be honest. It's not something that I went back to as frequently as I would have liked to within those 6 months. And so actually in that section, you'll see a little bit of a change that I made. I added a habit tracker for 2024. I've used one, earlier in 2023 and kind of removed it. but I actually think the habit trackers are a really good way to help me stay motivated and getting things done. So I've added it back into my Notion. We're gonna try it again for 2024. So you'll notice that change in this section as well if you've used my old template. That is an update that I have made. So my to-do list at the top of this template, I think I've shuffled those around with the calendar. You guys will see on the screen as I'm going through this. My to-do lists have been my everything. I use them every day. I shuffle things around. They're so easy to just like move a task to the next day if like I don't get it done, or like shuffle it around with like a Friday and Monday and switch things up. My to-do lists are everything in this template. I've been using them consistently every single day. I really recommend it. I think it's really important on a Sunday to kind of plan out how your week's gonna look. And then if things change throughout the week, you know, staying on top of things and moving them around to ensure that you get most of your to-do lists done. To-do lists have been really great for goal setting just by doing little tasks every single day. And I just want to talk a little bit about like how that has actually helped me, because this is like a check-in video as well. Proof of those to-do lists helping me actually achieve my goals. I'm now currently working full-time on my business. I've managed to squeeze, since I got back from my trip in November, like mid-November, I've managed to squeeze in a brand photo shoot, redo my entire website, redo my entire branding, and have it all ready for 2024. And that's all thanks to those to-do lists, because it's kept me sane, it kept me on top of things. You know, I launched a podcast with a friend, somehow balanced all of that, and I can definitely attribute it to that to-do list in this Notion template. So if there's one thing you're going to use in this template, definitely use those to-dos every single day. So I think one of my chapters from my previous video was falling back in love with learning and progress, and I had this section dedicated to different types of way to learn. So whether that's, you know, your book list and making notes on your books that you've read, or, you know, documentaries you want to watch, things that you want to learn, keep track of, history, topics that you want to write down. This section has been interesting for me because I think I've used like the last few points in there, not the first couple ones. And the last few points have been like the books I've been reading, making notes on those. And then I've also been using the history section a lot and making notes on that. So if I choose a topic I want to learn, I'll like watch a video on it and I'll jot down some notes. And I have to say, note taking, which I've always known this since, you know, when I was in university and stuff, it definitely worked. But note taking is the best way to retain information for me personally. I know it's different per person, but if you're the same, like I really recommend taking time in your Notion to write down things that you've learned in the book that you're currently reading, or if you've watched a really interesting video on something. You know, I love to watch videos on different, you know, history, but even if it's like some kind of topic that you're interested in, just jot down some notes on that and you're gonna retain the information so much better. You'll also have like something to reference back to if you forget things, you want to check in on things. This, you know, section has been really great for just like retaining information, and I have been actively updating that. I think there's a few books I still need to add into the book section with the notes, but just making sure that I made a habit of taking notes that I could put into my Notion later on has also been something that's been kind of a game changer for me. So you'll notice a few changes in this section. One, I've added a language journal, and two, I've added like a piano section. And so the reason I did this is because those were two goals that I had in 2023 that I did not focus on. I kind of like left them in the dust, and I want to revisit them in 2024. I know they're still important to me. So, you know, piano, there are a few pieces I wanted to learn, and the language journal is so that I can learn French. I really fell off with learning that this year, so those are two sections that I've added on there because I want to focus on them this upcoming year. So you'll see that change in the updated template as well. So moving on to the chapter health as well. This is a section of the Notion template that I didn't think I'd actually use that much. That's just me understanding that fitness and health, that's something that I lack a lot of discipline in, or I had previously, but I've actually used this a lot. I'm really happy to say that. I really think, you know, that one blurb I kept repeating in the last video, which was to perform like the top 5%, you have to not act like the 95%, something like that. To perform like the top 5%, we need to stop acting like the 95%. That was what I had written in my last video and I kept saying. And I really try to think about that every day when I wake up and I'm doing these things, and I'm eating clean and I'm working out. And as I mentioned, I finished the 75 hard challenge, but going from that to not working out, I had a little bit of a break, and then I came back and it was like, I had to rebuild that discipline, and this section really helped with that. I managed to consistently work out. I do it from home. I have like a little like list section I'll show you guys where I have like links to the YouTube tutorials for like the workouts I want to do at home. I try to just make it at least like 30 minutes long, and I really do feel the difference. I've also been trying to make eating clean easier for me because that's something that I'm quite lazy about, and this is stuff that I know about myself. I feel like this Notion template's good at picking out which pieces you need a little bit more support on, and those pieces, I believe keeping it as simple as possible and making like a really good system for it makes staying disciplined with it easier, if that makes sense. Okay, so now moving on to the fun section, which was, I think it was called practicing manifesting little things and reaching mini goals, something like that. So this section, you know, I have the little like items I want to work towards achieving, little things here and there that I want to like, you know, do in my life. What I've added to this section, which I'll show you guys, is a vision board section. And the reason I did that is because I've done this every year and I wanted to make sure that I added it to this template too. I always keep my vision boards in my Notion so you can look back on each year and see how the goals change and develop, or which ones have stayed or which ones I haven't completed yet. And in that section, I have little things here and there to go through as well to help keep me on track, ask myself questions on like what I really want, and reevaluating those goals. And I know like the idea of manifesting isn't for everyone. It can be a bit wishy-washy, but I do think being intentional with your goals is really important. And I do think vision boards are a good way of visualizing what those goals look like, because you want to be really clear on your goals. If you're going to wake up every day and do little things to work towards them, you need to know what the bigger picture is going to look like. I also have a video on my 2024 vision board if anyone's interested. I will link it here. And I do talk a little bit in that video about the goals that I managed to accomplish in 2023. And again, I think a lot of that also can be attributed to this Notion template and staying on top of things. Okay, so I also have a section called Your Why. So this section is very much about figuring out your purpose in life beyond just, oh, I want to be successful, I want to like be healthy, I want to hang out with my friends, da 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 da. What is your bigger purpose in life? What's something that really speaks to you, or is like an issue that really strikes a chord in you, is something that's really important to you? Because I think it's important when we're like planning out our goals, we have to think about like what is the bigger purpose in life? Like what's something that like a legacy you want to leave behind, or the impact you want to make on this world. And I do believe in dreaming big in this section, because maybe you can't make the biggest change currently for like a world issue or something that you're very passionate about, but just by doing little things towards it, then you're moving in that direction. I really do believe that. And I think thanks to this section of my Notion, I have been able to really reflect on what is important to me, what is the bigger purpose for me in my life, and the causes that I want to support as well. I think there's so many to pick from, but one that, you know, you're really passionate about, I think is really important. And so actually with my business rebrand for 2024, I picked a charity that I'd like to support this year. It's a charity that's supporting, you know, girls' education. It's something we're very passionate about. You know, I'd love to live in a world where every female has the rights to education and equal opportunities in the world. So the charity that I specifically chose supports girls in Canada and Nepal, and it helps them by providing, you know, educational materials, tutoring groups, exam fees, and more importantly, it also supports one girl and their mother. So this charity that I chose is called Her International. I will link it in my description notes as well in case any of you want to check it out. But yeah, I think this section, you know, I'm really glad that, you know, 6 months ago I was reflecting on what was important to me, and now I've actually made actionable steps towards, you know, supporting a cause that matters to me. Everyone has the ability to help in some capacity. You just got to know what you care about and make an active effort to supporting it. So I think it's one of my last sections, I titled it Follow the Greats. So this was a section where I wanted it to be a space where you could pick people that inspire you and write down things about them that inspire you, things that you want to keep track of, things that you want to work towards as well. Because I really do believe, as I mentioned in my last video, there's no greater motivation in life than watching others succeed and then asking yourself, if they can do it, why can't I? Move all that energy. If you've ever felt jealous about someone, you have to ask yourself, like, why do I feel that way? What is it about them that I really like? And how can I work towards that in my own life? Because if someone else is doing it, that actually just shows that it's possible, and it should be motivation to let yourself know that you're also capable of this. In this section, you know, I also think it's important to think about other role models in your life. They might not be like a business or career role model, but family role models, people that are just doing things in your life that you look up to. I think it's important to really think about the people you surround yourself with and the people that you look up to as well. And in this section, it's quite personal, but I have expanded on it in a way that I'm very happy about, which is just that I found even more people online in my life around me that I look up to and aspire to be like. And so that's the reason that this section has stayed fairly much the same. Like, you can put notes in just like you did last time, but on my own personal end, I've just added more people to that section. So I believe we've really reached the end of my template. I think I went through that fairly fast. You know, I'm gonna sound like a broken record. just like my last video, the one phrase that I really want us to all live by is to perform like the top 5%. We need to stop acting like the 95%. If you want to really strive for more, there's no shame in that. Again, also, if you're happy in your life just as it is, that's all good too. I think this Notion template's really for anyone who's really wanting to push themselves a little bit further and create discipline and show up consistently in the ways that they want to improve their lives. I mentioned this in my last video as well, but you know, wake up every day and think, who do I want to be? How do I want to dress? What shape do I want to be in? This person I want to be, like, what kind of traits do they have? How do they show up in the workplace? How are they to their friends, to their family? What are the causes they care about? What are things that they're loud about? You know, how do they live their life? And I've been trying to ask myself that every day when I wake up, and I really feel like it's made a difference even in these 6 months. As I've mentioned, I've been able to do things in these 6 months and squeeze so much in. Before I ramble on about that too much, I really hope that this Notion template will help you all strive to become the people that you want to be in 2024. I will link the template below and let you guys know in the next few seconds, like a little tutorial on how to download the template in case you haven't done that before. But as always, you know, take care, guys, and I will check in with you all in 6 months again and see how we're all doing. Maybe there'll be some more updates to my template, but I'm really hopeful for this year, and I hope it's a great year for everyone. So take care, friends, and I'll talk to you all in the next video very, very soon. Bye, guys.